Welcome to Crimson Guitars and welcome to a guitar building tutorial video. Hi. At Crimson we are embarking on a project where we're building a lot more production guitars, and one of those guitars is a hollow body with, I'm going to call them F-holes. They're not quite F-holes. They're sort of more teardroppy. You can't see that very well. Yeah, have a look at this one. And this is our PAF hollow guitar. Now, it is one of my favorite guitars ever, and I think my favorite guitar that I've designed ever. And it's particularly delicate and lovely, and small of the waist and large of the hips and all that. But one of the things that makes it is the sound holes, and they are delicate. And the problem is, when you have a top, either a drop top like this one or a carved top like the maple, you still do need some strength so that it doesn't, just disintegrate underneath the pressure of the strings and all of that jazz. So you still want your top to be 4 or 5 mil thick around the sound holes. And what you do is carve them away in order to get an illusion of delicacy. And this tutorial is going to be me showing you a couple of different methods for achieving this look. This is how the raw top comes off the CNC machine. And the sound holes are fairly thick, and it's just the way it goes. Now, this applies to tellies, hollow tellies, telly customs, 72 thin lines. Thin lines is the word, as well. Now, what you really want is something that looks like that. It's practically invisible. You can't see the edge. This is really difficult to film, actually. And there's glue on my binding. This is obviously a part-made guitar. We've got more routing to do and all sorts. It's a prototype for the new, or it was a prototype. Anyway, so that's the look we're after. And in order to get that look, you have to carve out the back of the top. There are many different tools that you can use to do this. Left and right-handed knives, and I need to sharpen these. It's got glue on it for some reason. Somebody's been borrowing my tools. This is a more traditional way of carving these. This is also a process that's been done on violins and cellos and the like forever. Scalpel blade, a little bit too delicate really, but could be done. Left and right-handed knives go in, curve round and work well. I also use chisels quite a lot. Rasps help. This is a lovely, I think it's an Ariu rasp. I've had it for about 12 years and I still love it. And I use it all the time. And something, whatever method you use, a blade or a rasp or a grinder, you have to tidy up afterwards, and a little curved or a little shaped scraper, you can make one of these yourself if you want, is absolutely essential to get a good quality fit and finish. Another much quicker option is a multi-tool Proxon, or what's the other brand? Oh my goodness. I've completely lost my mind. Dremel, there we go. With a saber tooth bit in it. And this is actually my preferred method now because it is so much faster. I'm going to show you all of these options and let you decide. First of all, you have to give yourself an idea of where you want to carve to. So I'll draw around, and that's essentially roughly what I'm after. And then we're going to carve away until we have about 1 millimeter right at the edge. That's delicate enough to look really, really sexy, but also the rest of the top is still strong enough to, you know, deal with the rock and roll with which you are going to make music. That sentence went away from me. All right, so I know what I'm doing now. The first option is a set of knives. Now, essentially, if your grain is going like so, you want to cut with the grain. And I've actually chosen this very well because this is nice, soft, well, it's sapele, but it's easy to carve. And at about this point, it starts chipping out, and I have issues. So we want to go with another knife, which does need to be sharpened. Oh, I'm being naughty. No, that's blunt as hell. Okay. Now, excuse me, I need to clamp this down before I go much further. And I need to sharpen my knives. But essentially, you do your different, you cut in from different angles, and eventually you've carved away, and it's all good. Another option is, well, I'm going to sharpen some knives, and I'll do one with that, and you can see, and then we'll move on. My knives, they are now sharp. So, going with the grain, and then when the grain changes direction, you go the other way. And if I was not filming this, I would have held it a different way. I would, frankly, I'd be sitting on my bottom, and I'd be holding the wood myself, or possibly have it in a vise. But anyway. Now the thing is, with a properly sharp knife, especially these beautiful ones from Ashley Isles, I'm getting a really nice finish. And there's very little that has to be done afterwards to clean it up. It's, you know, it's the inside of the guitar, and it's going to be nice and smooth. Some of the other methods, however, are much more problematic, shall we say. Now, doing this with maple is really, maple is a harder wood, and yeah, it's not quite so straightforward as sapele or mahogany. But you can see where, I don't know, it's one of those jobs. If you're in the right mood and you've got nice sharp tools and it's all good, it really is quite therapeutic. However, there are faster ways to do it. Another option is a nice sharp chisel. And with this, holding the chisel like so, you can also pare away a lot of excess. And It's similar in process to the knife. In this case, I need 2 clamps. In this case, with the guitar flat down on my workbench, it's easier to navigate than the knives. It would also help if I was over a hole. So, for example, over the edge of the bench like so. And you can carve away. And this is a little bit faster. And again, because it is an edged tool, it gives you a much better finish. And it's fun. It's I don't know. It's a much more enjoyable. It's a much more enjoyable way of creating guitars, really. Now, another option is rasps. These are much less fun. You can go in, and it depends on the instrument that you're building and the shape of it. Already, you probably saw just there a little bit of tear out just on the edge, and that was actually a perfect example of why not to use a rasp for this sort of job, or at least a traditional rasp, because doing it this way, you don't really know at certain points what the wood itself wants to do. And it's also given us a much coarser finish, and you're going to have to go back afterwards, either with sandpaper or preferably with a little scraper. So you can see how coarse that is. Get a sharp scraper. And that cleans it up. In the end, edged tools are almost always better than abrasives. Now, I'm going to move over to the fun bit, and that is my Proxon with the saber tooth. So the rain is coming down, which means you can probably hear it through the microphone, but I'm going to carry on with this. Always wear eye protection as soon as you get a machine tool on. This has got one of the fantastic yellow, which is their fine or super fine, saber tooth bits from Saber Tooth with a double R, and it is a very cool tool for doing this job. Now you will see how quickly it goes, really. So there we go, in a matter of seconds, that has done a really good job. It cuts finely, smoothly, and let's zoom in. The effect that we have is still rough, and you're still going to need to use either sandpaper or preferably a scraper, really, to do this. Now, I wouldn't have this clamped down. I would be moving it around on my bench. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes to do the whole job, but the end result is quicker. That there, done mostly with the edge tools, and in about half the time, or even less, I've got the rough shape with the saber tooth. Now, essentially it is a kind of rasp, but because you're taking smaller amounts off, it cuts cleaner. And for my money, it's the best way to do it. Now, looking at the edge, we've got something, well, obviously you can see where I haven't finished the carving, but it gives you a much more delicate look, and you can do this on any top. It's still strong, but it looks much sexier. And there you have it, several ways to make your F-holes or sound holes look much more delicate. You know, on an instrument like one of ours, on an F-hole for a thin line telly, or they're used on jazz guitars. What Fender do is they've got a 1/4 inch thick top, I think, and then they actually route flat a little cavity just around the F-holes, and they'll use a router to make it do a similar thing. Frankly, I think this is a little bit more elegant, and it feels nicer when your guitarist, as they inevitably will, sticks their fingers in the hole and has a bit of a feel. So, well, it's up to you whether you want to make noise and dust. I should have actually been wearing a dust mask during that. Or do you want to do it by hand and with you know, left and right-handed knives or chisels, or frankly a combination of all. I think the only tool that I would suggest is pretty much indispensable is a nice sharp small scraper, or possibly some sandpaper, but yeah, scrapers trump sandpaper every time. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any questions or comments or a better, different, more interesting methods for doing this, please put it in the comments below. Click like if you have liked the video, click like if you haven't liked the video, because that's what you have to do, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. I will say good day, good night, go away, make some dust, and yeah, post us the images of your guitars as you go. Have an excellent one. Goodbye.